This week we watched a movie that's basically been the last 2 years of our lives during the pandemic, where we can't go outside and we only shower maybe once a week. We watched 1974's Bad Ronald.
Stabby Stabby.
Hi, welcome to Stabby Stabby. I'm one of your hosts, Eric. We are a podcast that reviews horror movies, thrillers, exploitation movies. We deep dive into the plot. Usually we try to find some obscure stuff and take you along for the journey, get you into the movie. Greg will go plot point by plot point, and we dissect the hell out of the movie, so you don't necessarily have to. So welcome to our show. I'm drinking a Coca-Cola today. No alcohol for me. I'm taking a little breather, but I'm enjoying the sugar and caffeine. Who's that? Dan?
That was
Dan,
me.
What are you up to?
You know what? I'm good. I'm one of your other hosts, Dan. I'm doing well. I'm drinking a beer. I'm drinking a Mood by Stable 12. It's putting me into a mood because it's a milk stout. That's something like, I can't find the number. Oh, here it is, 10%. I will feel this. This is my second of the night. I'm looking forward to feeling all of this with you, along with feeling Greg. Greg, are you there? I feel you.
Oh, I'm here. And I'm drinking a Centennial Millennial from 107 Brewing and Tattered Flag Brewing that was also collaborated with the best friends podcast in the world, who are friends of our show.
Hey!
And it's a West Coast IPA. It's delicious. They brewed it for their 100th episode, so congratulations to those guys.
Congratulations. That's awesome news. I love that podcast.
Yeah, did you hear a little scratching? I heard a little scratching coming from the walls, and I think I heard a loud fart and maybe a toilet flush.
I thought my painting was breathing, but maybe it's something else going on. What is that noise?
Who's in there?
Hi, guys.
Who's in the wall?
Whoa!
Hey!
What was that? Where is this from?
Hey, so who's joining us on this show from the walls?
Hey, it's return guest Brendan Carr.
Oh, it's just Brendan.
Yeah.
Hey!
Yeah, you guys. Last episode I was on, the Wicked, and you guys barricaded me in this crawl space in the walls here, and I just kind of been hanging out.
Guys, who let Brendan out? What is he doing out of his cocoon? Crawl back in there. We gave you enough music magazines to last you at least 2 more years.
That's true. I did start my own little society in there too, which I rule, which is I've been demoted, unfortunately. So there's been a what do you call it, a coup d'etat, and I've been thrown out of my chair. So, hey.
Wait, did your imaginary friends kick you out of your imaginary kingdom?
Yeah, my imaginary friends like Jesus, Sherlock Holmes, all the classics.
Oh, well, it's good to have you back on the show.
It's nice to be back.
Talking about this fantastic made-for-TV movie with the dirtiest bad boy.
Oh, he's so dirty. So dirty.
Wait, before we get into it, can we just I want to part this kimono. Brendan, what have you been up to, dude? How's what are you doing?
I've been, as most people, locked down for 2 years in various stages. Once when I thought I was out, they Omicron or whatever the hell it's called pulled me back in. So I've just been laying low, reading a lot, listening to a lot of music, watching movies, and listening to Stabby Stabby when I can. So,
Dude, how's Guerrilla Radio doing?
Grill Radio is still going. Yeah, I got a little lazy toward the end of this year where I was only doing an episode a month. So I'm trying to kick myself in the ass and do at least a new episode every other week. So I'm on that train right now. And I want to thank both my listeners for tuning in to the latest episode. You guys are the best.
Hey, man, I got to thank you for the December birthday shout out.
You're welcome, man.
You played some tunes for me, so happy to hear some REM, some Zevon, some Jethro Tull. So thanks for that. It was cool.
Oh, you're welcome, man. I mean, yeah, the main reason I started it 2 years ago was, we were all locked down and I wasn't seeing a lot of folks. None of us were. And I just thought like, oh, I'll do this thing to kind of talk to my friends. And then some people in like France start listening to it as well. And that was kind of interesting. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I just been going, and maybe one day we'll actually be able to congregate together without the need of masks and vaccines and all kinds of other bullshit. But I digress.
Well, I like that years ago this situation put you into confinement, and you tried to find a realistic export where you could still interact with the real world in a meaningful way. I'm wondering.
Some people, they draw on walls and stuff and create things. I create a podcast. I create a fake radio show, and
It's the way to do it.
Didn't we all? I liked it from here on out. I do want to watch this movie in the perspective of this is a different universe where Brendan could have done something else. I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be good. Well, how did we end up on Bad Ronald? How did we get here? Why are we here?
Yeah, so it's my selection for the week. It just kept coming up in conversation. So just like a month ago, my sister-in-law was talking about it, how it freaked her out as a kid. It was in one of my horror book lists of like made for TV movies that I had just read not too long ago. And then Brendan, when we went to see Joe Bob at Mahoning, had given me some of his discs. I guess you were upgrading like DVD to Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And Bad Ronald was in there. I didn't own it. It just kept popping up, and I was like, I need to watch this again and talk about it. So I must have seen like a rerun or something because it was 74. I would have been like a year old when it came out, but I knew about it, or I knew its reputation because it seemed familiar to me. But anyway, yeah, it just kept coming up, and I was like, I think it's time. Do some Bad Ronald. Plus, we haven't talked about a TV movie since Scream for the Wolf.
Yeah, so, Scream of the Wolf was awesome. That was
Scream
fun.
of the Wolf. Yeah. Brandon, did you upgrade to like the Warner Blu-ray, the Warner Archive, or?
I did, and it actually looks really good, which is crazy because there's a Blu-ray of a TV movie that looks impeccable, and yet their version of Wicked that's out there kind of looks like shit.
My God.
So Warner Archive, I love you guys, but I'm not sure your pecking order, like what's going on there. So
that's interesting.
We'll get to it at the end, but of the two films, I would much rather an impeccable copy of Wicked. Spoiler alert, Wicked was awesome. It was so good.
Yeah, go back and listen to that, folks, if you haven't. That's a good one.
What a gem of a movie.
All right, you guys want to hop in, take a ride on this Ronald train?
Let's get dirty.
I want to move into that Plot's bathroom
And live there.
Mm-hmm. I want to poop where I sleep in this plot.
I've just got a bunch of chocolate bars and apples, like just with little tiny corners bitten out, just strewn all over myself.
You're a chocolate mouse.
Now let's get to the plot.
So, 1974's Bad Ronald, directed by Buzz Kulik, opens on a shot.
Sorry, Buzz Kulik.
It's a good name.
I didn't know the director's name going into this.
It's good. I don't know if I pronounced his last name right. I'm sorry, Mr. Kulik or Buzzy Boy.
Well, if it's not pronounced
Buzz
Kulik, I can tell you exactly what that would be. All right, we can carry on.
So Bad
Ronald.
Ronald.
Can I just say, I just want to appreciate this is the earliest I've ever interrupted you, and I just want to savor that.
Yeah,
it's the first sentence.
Thank you.
All right, carry on.
So Bad Ronald opens on a shot of a normal suburban house, and then we cut inside to Ronald and his mom, Elaine, eating a meal for Ronald's birthday. Time doesn't mean much in this movie. We don't really know when things happen or how long things go, but that's fine. It doesn't matter. You just see a boy get dirtier. We see his mom collapse in her chair because something is wrong with her medically, but she won't do anything about it yet because she's saving up to send Ronald to doctor school to become a world-renowned doctor, maybe, but he wants to be an artist.
I just want to know that in the 70s already, people were desperate enough for healthcare where they were like, I'm not going to go to the doctor. I'm going to wait and put my kid through college. After 12 years of medical school, you will give me the care I desperately need.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's sad.
Yeah. He's also a total loser because he was having his birthday with his mom and no one else.
Yeah, his post-coital birthday cake.
She's like,
Aw.
she's like, you know what I like to bring up on your birthday? How I got divorced from your dad 10 years ago, the day after. Happy birthday. Here's a toolbox.
Not only that, divorced, and your dad agreed to just terminate any involvement with you ever.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Can we hash out the mom and the son relationship here? Because the son, it sounds like in this scene, Greg, you were setting up that he's having a birthday celebration with his mom where he's eating cake seemingly out of nowhere. There's no dinner plates or anything. So that's why I call it post-coital. I'm just imagining they just came down from cuddling. They're eating some cake together. And then he says something like, Dad's never visited me. And then she says, like, 10 years ago, the day after your birthday, your dad and I divorced, and in exchange for not paying alimony, he's not allowed to visit you. And he took that like a goddamn champion. He was like, yeah, that's fine. Was that new news to him? Is that the first he heard of all that?
I would hope
I think
not.
that was just exposition for us.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It
Okay.
was like 2 minutes in the movie, and it was a shit ton of exposition.
Yeah.
Maybe for years she'd been telling him, like, you know, he's on assignment or something. He's working for the government. And she's like, it's like a kid when you finally figure out, like, right, you're old enough. There's no Santa Claus. I'll tell you what really happened with your old man.
Wait, if he's not working at the farm with our old dog, then where'd the dog go?
You know, and he's like, I kind of figured as much. Oh, by the way, thanks for this fucked up looking cake you made me, Mom. That's a fucked up looking cake. Looked like she iced it with her asshole.
Yeah. And she took 3 cartons of chocolate frosting and just dumped it on it, and boy, that is a cake for Greg. And you can ice it with your asshole too. That's fine too.
Do you think it's even a cake, or do you just think it's a mound, like a husk of chocolate icing that she just...
I can only hope it's just a bucket of icing under there.
I mean, she's unwell. She has untreated medical conditions. You know, maybe all she could muster was the strength to open a can of frosting. That could be.
Yeah.
Could be her little peek into her psyche.
You know, it's a good thing that in the opening few minutes of any given movie you watch, there's a 0% likelihood that the parental figure will die. And she's going to live forever, and we'll never have to mourn her. So it's nice that we got to meet this long-lasting character of the sickly mother.
Yep. And good boy Ronald brings her pills when she kind of collapses in her chair. Mm-hmm. Then we get the exposition about the divorce and Ronald's father. Later that day, Ronald gets some birthday presents, including a brand new paint set. He's creating a story about, like, a fantasy story about based in China. He told his mom, I like that he says, like, well, China's real, so, like, that's totally fine.
Yeah, I thought
like
it was called,
his mom doesn't believe in China.
Yeah.
Does he say China or?
Yes.
I think he. Oh, I thought he said the name of, like, the fantasy realm. It's called, like, Atrana.
Yeah. That's
I
thought
could have
too.
sworn
I didn't know it
he
was
said
China.
China.
I could hope it is China.
I
also even
heard-
more weird.
Wait, I also heard China. I thought she was like, don't spend more time in your fantasy worlds. And he said, it's China. It's not fantasy.
Yeah.
I thought he said it's Atrana. It's not fantasy. It's real.
Yeah.
Now I can illustrate my story.
I don't want you occupying all your time with those extraordinary visions of fantasy.
Atrana's not fantasy. It's real. You'll see.
Well, listeners, when you watch Bad Ronald after this, rate us 5 stars.
Thank you.
And let us know if it's Atrana or China.
Just one word.
It's very important. Yeah, we'll
'cause maybe
know
his-
probably never.
His mom suffers from that disease that makes you think that foreign countries don't really exist, apparently.
Yeah.
But we'll learn more. We'll learn more about China and/or Trana later. So Ronald now goes over to Lori Matthews' house. I believe it's a schoolmate that he has a crush on. He ends up kind of asking her out to go to a movie, but she completely blows him off. And all the other kids play like swimming in the pool. Also, just like keep splashing him and making fun of him and just being really shitty to him. He didn't seem like he did anything, and he just looks like a socially awkward person.
Yeah.
And the 70s were terrible.
I have two questions. One, how was he shitty in this scene? And two,
He wasn't.
Do you guys swim in full makeup and jewelry? So you can go ahead and take turns answering whichever order you want to.
I do everything in full makeup and jewelry. All right.
I mean, that takes some guts to like just go out to like her house and ask her on a date in front of all of her friends.
Seriously.
But I guess it shows how socially
Naive.
nerdy, and Did you notice that they'd reject him, they all laugh at him, make fun of him, and they're like waving goodbye, and it's all just like high school kids, but right in the middle of the high school kids, there's this random dude in the pool with like a mustache who looks like he's 50 years old, and he's just waving like super enthusiastically to Ronald. I'm like, who the fuck's that?
That's the guy who gets them beer and stuff, and he's like the Matthew McConaughey from Dazed and Confused of Band Ronald, basically.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
He's like, I love that 15-year-old poontang. And that guy's happy because he's like, oh, normally they're making fun of me being a loser, but now here Ronald comes along, saves the day. Like,
Yep.
Yo, I have in my notes, I just assumed that old mustache man in that pool was the director. I thought it was a director cameo. And he was like, they'll never spot me.
It's this Hitchcock moment. Yeah.
I'm Buzz Kulik. You'll never notice me. I also thought like when they were making fun of him, the one kid in the pool, and I think it might be Dwayne, who we'll see a lot more of later. He was like, "Oh, come on in the pool if you can swim, or even better if you can't." Like they're just like, "Come on and die. It's totally cool."
I mean, I thought that was a funny line. I'm not gonna lie, I laughed at that.
Well, poor bad Ronald got made fun of, and he ends up leaving with no date on his calendar.
He's just regular Ronald right now.
Yeah,
well, he's good boy Ronald. Yeah, that's right. So he leaves, and on his way he runs into Carol Matthews, Lori's younger sister. She also literally runs into. She also starts making fun of him and basically like she just acting like a little piece of shit. He tries to get her to apologize because now he's upset, but she slaps him and he like grabs her by the face and throws her backwards, and she falls back and hits her head on a cinder block and dies.
I am not weird.
Yes, you are. And so is your mother.
I want you to say you're sorry. I want you to say you're sorry.
Let go of me.
Say you're sorry.
Let go of me. Dwayne's gonna get you for this.
Say you're sorry.
So,
yep.
Yeah. Check.
I like how he's creepily trampling through the woods when he runs into her. Like he's just walking through like the forest. And like basically jumps on top of her.
And she yells at him like, you should watch where you're going. But like he came out of the woods. He came running out of the woods.
You're going to tell Sasquatch to watch where he's going? He's going in the woods.
This boy's a gust of wind at this point. You can't stop him. Also, I like the idea of being bullied by somebody who, while he was emotionally affected by this person yelling at him, but the person yelling at him was small enough that he could pick her up by her fucking head and throw her.
Yeah, he literally it was just like both hands on her head and in the frame, and that was it. It was shot really well. It's cool.
It was. Honestly, I'd never heard of this movie. I'd never seen this movie. This is Mrs. Inaugural everything to me. When he picked her up by the head, I was waiting for like a skull split. Like, I thought he was just going to tear her, just rip her asunder, and then that would be the kickoff. I wasn't expecting the $1 million baby move, but, it's fine. Either way, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, you got to remember, this was like ABC's Wednesday movie of the week. Like, there's just like children watching this at like 8:30 p.m. horrified.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I know we're not there yet, but I think that's why it has the reputation it has. I think it's just like kinder trauma for so many people in the 70s.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it is shocking to see like a 12-year-old girl hit a cinder block on the neck. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's any way to shoot that where it's not horrific.
Yep.
So yeah, mission accomplished. And I guess this is Ronald's Breaking Bad moment.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So Ronald goes home and tells his mom that he killed Carol and that also he buried her.
Oops, don't do that.
Which is always a little bit too far in the premeditation and or just trying to cover it up.
In a shallow grave.
Yeah, he did a shitty job of it. Really
Just
shitty
leave her.
job
I mean,
of it.
if you want to pretend it's an accident, just leave her. Like, why would, if you're going to do a shallow grave, she's going to be found, right?
Yeah, and his mom basically said that too. Like, well, you buried her, and the cops are gonna have a problem with that.
Right, that's right. She
like,
did.
we can't say it's an accident anymore because you actively covered it up. But yeah, so his mom comes up with a surefire plan to keep him out of jail. They're going to block up a section of the house, which is like one section of a room and a bathroom, and he'll basically live in the walls until things quiet down.
Yeah.
You'll be able to live in decency and cleanliness. You'll have plenty of room, and no one will know. We've got some old plasterboard and some extra wallpaper upstairs. Now take off the door. We'll have to work through the night. We must be careful not to leave any scraps.
It's a good plan.
It
It's a
is.
solid plan.
Is it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a solid plan.
All right, I'm with you.
Yeah,
You
well,
convinced me.
It's a solid plan when you think of who it's coming from. A woman who doesn't believe China exists and that her fucked up kid is going to go to medical school, and a kid who can't even properly bury a fucking dead body. So, yeah, it's a total solid plan from those two.
He also doesn't know how to eat an apple.
Wait, what?
There's a
Yeah,
lot
he
of
just kind
things
of
he doesn't
gums
know.
it. He gums an apple for a while.
Wait, describe this to me. I missed this. Tell me about this boy gumming an apple. I want to hear this.
Well, in this scene, when his mom's like, when he's like, what are you going to do to me? And she's talking about, how to hide him in a wall. He nervously chews on the corner of an apple with like two teeth, like a little rodent.
Yeah.
So he was a mousy boy before he went into the wall.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. He was, the way he ate food made me want to slap him. Punch the television.
That scene with the apple, that maybe I'm getting I'm giving this actor or whoever too much credit. It reminds me of Norman Bates in Psycho, the way he's always eating his candy corn and stuff, kind of like a
peckish.
squirrely mouse being peckish. So I was like, I wonder if that's that actor's little tip of the hat to Norman, but probably not. I'm giving them all way too much credit for something there.
Well, I don't understand the logic of like you accidentally did this thing and you did a bad job covering it up. So therefore, it's one thing to say hide in the walls until things are safe. Like that's weird, but they continue on to set it up so that the police know that he's the one that did the murdering, and
Right.
that's the part that I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe have we gotten there yet? Maybe I'm ahead of
gotten there.
Yeah, the
yeah.
cops are
Yeah.
coming soon,
Okay.
but
I don't think the mom was aware of all of what he had. Maybe she was. Yeah, I don't know.
There's something weird
she
there.
loves her good bad boy
her
and
doctor
doesn't
son.
want him to go to
Her
jail.
future doctor son can't go
Yeah,
to jail.
like I mean, she's making a quick decision on how can we kind of hide you so you don't get arrested, and then it'll buy us time to figure out where to go from here. She's thinking maybe a couple months it'll die down. They can sneak out and start their life again somewhere else.
I just like that they're like the shed. No. The attic. No. The bathroom. Ding 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 ding.
Well, yeah. So it's like it's the downstairs bathroom and like a section behind the pantry. It's not in like insignificant portion of the house. Like, he's
Right.
got a decent amount of room
he's
in
got
there.
some room. Yeah.
It's the Harry Potter under the stairs door, like living quarters. If under the stairs you had to go through a bathroom to get there, like it would be considerably more to hide. Yeah.
It's as big as like a New York City apartment. It's
that's a good
you
point.
can live in there pretty easily.
He does.
Yeah, well, yes.
He is an artist, so it makes sense. You know?
That's true.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did any of you notice that when he comes home and tells his mom that he killed a girl, that her first response is, "I warned you about those girls"?
Oh, if only you listened to me. None of this would have happened. So many times I have warned you about those girls.
I don't remember that.
That's the first thing
That's
she
great.
says. She's like, "I warned you about those girls." I was like, "Yeah." Look at this mom blaming the victim. All right, yeah, he's traumatized. Let's hide this boy away. He's not ready for Twitter.
Oh, man. All right. So next day, the cops come over to the house looking for Ronald because they suspect he killed Carol, mainly because he was in the area at the same time. And they end up searching the house. But his new room that they made overnight perfectly is undetectable to seasoned old policemen. But Ronald had left a note in his room that says that he was running away and feels bad for what he caused his mother pain. He didn't say, I killed this girl, but he said, I'm sorry for what I did. So the cops end up leaving after finding like his torn jacket, which they can kind of trace to the crime scene. And they make it very clear to his mother that they are pretty sure it was Ronald who killed the girl. These cops are very inept afterward. Like from here on out, these are garbage cops. Who was it? Who's the main one? Sgt Lynch was the old man cop.
That makes sense. He's like a surrealist abstraction of what police should be. So it makes
Yeah,
sense.
he's also
called
like
Lynch.
a small town cop.
Yeah.
That like probably not that much goes on in that town. So this murder, he's just like, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this.
He's more like, this is, look, I don't, normally I'm getting paid to sit on my ass. Now I actually have to like do shit, great.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me where your asshole kid is so I can get back to just dicking the dog 8 hours a day,
Yeah. Honestly, like, there's a scene later in this movie where Sgt. Lynch is just the absolute worst cop I've ever seen in a movie and real life.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
I know what scene you're talking about, and I'm excited to
Yeah.
get there.
I like how the mom's like immediately shitty to them. They ring the door and she's like, "Yes, what do you want?" And then she's like, "Of course he's my son. He's a wonderful boy. He would never do anything." It's like, dude, don't be like so suspicious. Like, play it off like you're cool.
It's like
And then she's like,
Shakespearean. You doth protest too much.
yeah.
Calm down.
And she's like, "Teenagers are always running away." It's like, are they? Is that what happens?
Yeah,
Teenagers.
that's some bad mom ammo. Don't equip the police with that line.
Yeah, he's doing some candy bar nibbling in this scene, some chocolate bar nibbling.
Our little rat boy Ronald.
Yeah, he's a little rat boy. Oh, I totally think it's on purpose too. Like, it just makes you kind of really hate him, which is kind of awesome.
I didn't even notice. I noticed the apple because like that was super weird, but the chocolate I didn't really notice him being ratty.
Oh
but-
yeah,
He's always just
Yeah.
nibbling corners. He never takes a bite of anything except for that
Yeah.
milk. He functionally takes a bite out of milk later in the movie.
He nibbles
But,
on
yeah.
that thing like he nibbles on his mom's clit. I
Yeah,
mean, come on.
Whoa! All right, whoever's editing, I'll leave it to you.
All right, so now we later see Ronald's mom. We're moving on. We later see Ronald's mom not looking too good. You're seeing that her health is deteriorating. Whatever's wrong with her is getting worse. But Ronald is still stuck in his room, doing his push-ups, doing his studying, but also drawing his fantasy characters on the wall. This is his spiral into insanity. Ronald ends up. Well, his mom leaves at one point, and Ronald ends up leaving his little hiding room and almost gets caught by the nosy neighbor, Mrs. Schumacher, who is the greatest overacting old lady I've ever seen.
I have the same exact notes, dude. I'm like, she's amazing. I love her.
Yeah, she's sucks in this movie, like as a character. Like she's supposed to be like annoying and nobody likes a nosy neighbor. But yeah, every time she looks in the window, like her eyes are like peeled open and she just looks so excited to see if she can spot Ronald walking around the house.
She looks through the windows as though she saw a dead body being carried into the house already.
Yeah.
Like she's there ready to see something nasty.
And
every time you see her.
Or like her disappointed look when she doesn't see anything is great. It's like she's a stage actor from like the vaudeville times or something.
Yeah, she's a Looney Tune. Like,
yeah, she's amazing.
If any, I have in my notes that like she's so cranked to 11 as the nosy neighbor that she becomes, in my mind, if I was the homeowner and if I had a neighbor like that, she would be a separate problem that I would have to deal with. Like I would have to call the cops to report a stalker, and there would be like. Not a sequel, not a prequel, but a simultaneous movie of me dealing with my neighbor who just needs to look on my back door window. Because she's aggressive. She's an aggressive peeper. Oh my God, she's a peeper. Just like Ronald.
She reminds me of Mrs. Achmanik from Alf. Alf's neighbor who was always spying on the house trying to catch Alf.
That's it. She's staring with the intensity of a woman who's lost a dozen cats by now.
Right.
Hey, you know what? Alf came out like 10 years after Bad Ronald. So
there you go.
I'm gonna say that's an homage to Bad Ronald.
I would have loved Alf showing up in Bad Ronald just for no reason, like in the middle of the movie. Like he cuts the hole in the floor and he just pops out.
He's like, hey, we're both hiding.
He's drawn on the wall and starts talking.
Yeah.
Somebody dub his laugh into the moment when that girl's head hits the cinder block.
Looks like you made a mistake, buddy. I'd watch that. I'd watch that spinoff.
Yeah.
Bad Ronald and Alf.
Yep, that would be it. We don't plan anything. That's the best he could do. Couldn't be like Wall Buddies.
No.
Or
Wall Buddies. Wall Buddies.
This is modern Hollywood. The naming conventions have to be literal ingredients that are adding up to the recipe that you're paying the ticket for. Bad Ronald and Alf go peeping. Colon locked in the house. What you gonna do? Shrug emoji.
Here, I'm writing it in my head right now. It'll be like, hey, Ronald, you bury that body like you bury your balls in your mom.
There is no evidence that he and his mom bang. Just saying that now. It would get more stabs if that was the case.
They both seem pretty flush over that birthday cake. That's all I'm saying.
Well, listen, because they look good. All right, moving on. Sgt Lynch comes back that night to talk to his mom, but he ends up leaving with basically no information. He's there for like 40 seconds. He fixes a picture on the wall that's askew, and then he leaves. He also said he did contact the father, and he hasn't heard from Ronald. So like he's got no leads. this sergeant.
And at this point, the mom has pretty much confirmed to the sergeant that her son killed this person, but he's missing.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think this is the scene where she says, like, well, wherever he is, I hope he's living the best life that he can, to make up for his mistakes.
Well, we didn't mention it, but when they first come to visit, maybe this is another, like, movies are time machines. We can look back and be like, I'm glad we're not them. The weird time machine thing that she does in this movie is she just tells the police, look through my house. Don't tell the police to look through your house. Never tell the police to look through your house. So they go through they're off looking for a dildo collection, and they find like a teared jacket of his and a clearly fake note that he wrote saying that he did the murder. And that was where I lost my shit. Like, if you're going to the lengths of building a false room to hide a kid, their plan is to hide him until they can move, and then he can come out of hiding. If you're doing all that, don't leave a note. Hide the jacket too. Like, do all the shit. Yeah. Well, don't do a false flag. Just let him be an anonymous runaway teenager and let there not be a direct line to the murder. But instead, they make a direct line to the murder so that they can pin it on him, but he's gone now. It's so weird. They
had a night to figure this all out. Like
I was watching this movie in like an hour and 10 minutes, and I figured it out in like 15 minutes what to do, Greg. I'm not Machiavellian. I'm a stupid piece of shit, and I can do it better than this.
You are 100% a murderer. We know that.
You know, you shouldn't. We're recording right now,
Greg.
Greg.
Mythos over the course of 40-some episodes that you are a murderer.
Leave a 5-star review and tell them why I'm not a murderer.
It was a different time in 1974, man. I mean, you know, you got to look at it through those eyes. The nation was dealing with a criminal president, and you know, gas shortages in Vietnam, and you know,
They were all on Quaaludes.
yeah, Quaaludes were still legal, and
That's right.
cocaine wasn't addictive, and yeah. Look, everybody put wood paneling in their fucking house in the 70s because they thought it was a good idea, and you know, it turns out it wasn't. Yeah. Lots of drop ceilings. I mean, these all seem like good ideas at the time. And
You're right. You're right. The rationale goes all the way down. It starts at putting wood paneling in your sitting room, and it ends at framing your murderer son for the literal murder he did while also simultaneously hiding him in your house. You're totally right.
I don't see any problem with this. I think her plan is great, and I think they did it the best they could. They're smart, old, weird people.
Yeah, trickle down economics works, and you can hide your murderer in your house, and you'll be fine.
You don't want to hide your murderer in the house. Just a murderer.
That's fair. That's fair. I like the idea of a spin-off movie where a person dies in their home at the hands of somebody else, and then the murderer just hides in the victim's house, and the murderer is called like the victim is hiding their murderer or something. I like the idea of blaming the victim for owning a house. That's fun. I would watch that movie.
It's your fault.
Yeah.
You're the homeowner.
do you think there's any resale value in the home? Because it'd be like, look, you know, it's got 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 1.5 murder hangout room, right off the kitchen. Like, wait, what was that last bit? Oh yeah, it's like a 1.5 murder hideout. Cool your heels.
Called the quarantine zone
until the shit goes down. Yeah. You know, like, ooh, that sounds good.
I like how there's like this subgenre of like people hidden in houses movies. I don't know if this started it, but there's Crawl Space, there's Housebound, there's The Boy, which I've never seen. Anybody seen The Boy?
Was that recent?
Yeah, I think it was like 2016 or 2014 or something.
I think I read about it. I don't think I saw it though.
The best one that I saw, and I haven't seen this. Let me know if any of you've seen this. It's got the worst, most obvious name. It's called Hider in the House. It's from '89 and it has Gary Busey in it. And it looks
I have not seen it.
Awesome.
That sounds
Look
awesome.
Check it out. Yeah, look at just Google it and look at the poster. It's just like Gary Busey looking through a window at like Mimi Rogers sleeping. And I guess he's like living in the attic the whole time. It looks amazing. Yeah.
That's a good cast. It's got Michael McKean,
You want to
too.
hear something crazy?
It's your favorite movie.
Yeah, what's up?
Weird helpful hint or just a factoid. Buzz Kulik, the director of this movie, 2 years before, in 1972, made another made-for-TV horror film called Crawl Space.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice.
About an elderly couple who kidnap a guy and hold him hostage in the crawl space, I believe. So Buzz was the when you had like a crawl space themed movie, I guess he was your go-to.
He's a
guy.
pioneer. Yeah, the one I was thinking about has.
I would say he's got a fetish, but that's just me.
The crawl space I was thinking about has.
There's one later on with Klaus Kinski.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's the one I've seen.
Yeah, and he's all old.
Yeah,
and he's
from like the mid '80s.
The trailer for that is amazing. He has like a contraption, like a sled that he lays on inside the vent ducts, and it shoots him through the vent like it's super hyper speed.
What? He shoots through the house like a pneumatic tube, like at the bank when I give them my paycheck and it shoots from my car to their thing. That's how an old man travels in a house.
Yep.
I'm convinced that movie is a documentary about Klaus Kinski. I don't think it's an actual fictional movie. I just think that was him on like a weekend. Yeah.
You know,
I had to check my shelf. I thought I owned it, but I own a Cellar Dweller, not Crawl Space. So.
I love the idea of it's the same movie with different covers, and you happen to own all of them, and you just haven't found the other ones yet. You pop them all in, they're all the same
has
thing.
a monster, but
no, for real, when like quarantine and like COVID and all that stuff first started hitting, usually we can look to horror movies to be like, it's the release of like social anxiety. Horror movies are always channeling some kind of like underlying social dread that nobody wants to talk about, but we all want release from. So we go to a horror movie to feel release. And when like COVID was first kicking off and quarantine was becoming a thing, I thought home invasion, like living in your house movies were going to be the thing at that point, because nobody's leaving anywhere and we're all feeling this dread of like the real dangers coming from within, like from a national sense. So I thought we would see that channeled here, but that's not actually what's happened. I feel like other horror movies have gotten precedent to it, and I don't know, that was surprising to me. And in a weird way, like Bad Ronald kind of felt modern and relevant in some strange ways.
Yeah, I think I could see that. I could see it being relevant now. Yeah, Housebound's a lot of fun. If you haven't seen that, it's a
I'll
New
write that
Zealand
down.
Yeah.
one.
I'll check
It's,
that out.
yeah, that's a good one.
It's basically a horror comedy, but it's got some really nice twists in it. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. All right. Moving on.
All right.
So that night during dinner, Ronald's mom tells him that she has to get surgery and she'll be gone in the hospital for at least a week. She loads him up with canned foods while she's gone, and Ronald spends most of his time doing his fantasy character drawings and drinking milk straight from the jug.
Ugh.
Oh,
Powdered milk.
no, wait. He actually
Powdered
just
milk.
drinks. Yeah, he drinks milk in his room.
Nasty.
He goes out to get food and almost gets caught by Mrs. Schumacher again, because she's a peeping and a snooping again. Some undisclosed time later, we find out that his mom died in the hospital.
How much time?
And that
How much time? Somebody.
some undisclosed.
No,
We don't
somebody
know.
take
We
how
don't know.
long could you live in that room before your mom dies?
I'm going to say it was like 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
She-
Okay.
She said the operation, she needed a week to recover,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
But he
Like, how long?
hears the news of her passing from some other unknown relative. Bringing
Her
it, her, thank you, man. I'm so glad you watched this movie so closely, Greg.
Well,
He
you know.
hears his aunt and a real estate agent touring the house, talking about how she would want it to go or something like that, and that's how he finds out that his mom is dead. So it's not only enough time for her to die; it's also enough time for family members to take possession of her belongings and start trying to put them on the market. So
Yeah,
I
that's
wasn't
true.
sure.
And it-
Yeah, that's
she
true.
she also makes a comment on how she can't believe her sister raised such like a shitty kid.
And he nibbles a piece of chocolate after hearing that.
Yeah. He's just like, well, it's a living.
He's such a goddamn nerd. They flashed to him. He's just playing this skin flute to Princess Vencetta in the background.
Dreaming about swimming in earrings. That makes sense.
He's a good boy. All right. So, so now he knows that the house is going to get sold with Ronald in it. So like any wall-bound weirdo would do, he goes around and starts drilling little peepholes throughout the house.
And they're not that little.
Nope, not at all.
The house ultimately gets sold to the Woods family. It's a married couple with 3 young daughters. And Ronald enjoys watching them through the peepholes, and he seems to become enamored with the youngest girl named Babs.
It's weird to see a young girl called Babs.
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 It's the 70s, baby. They're all Babs. We got Babs, Althea, and Ellen.
Althea?
Althea.
I don't even know what that is. This Alf? Have we found our Alf surrogate?
Not Althea.
She's introduced just chewing on a calico.
I like the escape hatch like he makes in the floor. Little booby hatch.
Yeah.
he makes.
Yeah. So
he puts, like,
he
half
sets
the
himself up.
Door over it. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, he sets himself up to be able to move through the house undetected, and he builds a trap door that he can go through. It's not really the basement; it's kind of just
Under the
house. And he can kind of start. He can see outside at one like a gate. So the Woods have now moved in. The daughter Ellen starts dating Dwayne Matthews, the brother of the girl who was killed by Ronald. at dinner the one night at the Woods house, Dwayne tells them that tells him about that at dinner, about how Ronald used to live there, how he never thought he'd be in this house because Ronald ended up killing his daughter and then disappeared.
Dwayne, that's what I said. What do you think of the house, Dwayne?
And I never thought I'd be eating here.
But why'd you say that?
Oh, I like the house. It's really nice.
Why did you say that?
It's nothing.
You must have had a reason for saying that.
Ronald Wilby, he lived here before you moved in.
So? And?
He murdered my sister.
The family gets a little freaked out by that, and it gives them more reason to feel like the house is evil. Like Babs said earlier, a scene or two ago, that, you know, she just feels like there's evil in the house, and like it just doesn't feel right. But Ronald, in the meantime, just keeps up with his drawings in his little creep room, because now it's not a hiding spot anymore. Now it's it's a pervert hangout, like basically,
And it's starting to smell real bad.
Yeah, because he's got a bathroom, but I don't know how he flushes the toilet without them knowing, or takes a shower without them knowing.
Dude, the flushing thing I couldn't get past. He's in a room with a bathroom and a toilet and all that. He's got to shit and pee. Like that's gonna make noise.
He just, if it's yellow, he lets it mellow. If it's brown, he also lets it mellow.
Like the poem goes.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
One thing I wanted to mention was, like, after he drills his spy holes.
Pervert holes.
His pervert holes. Thank you. He's like leaning up against the one, like with his glasses pressing against it, and he whispers to himself as he's staring at the youngest girl.
You're as beautiful as a princess. You must be the one.
Oh, it's so creepy.
It's so
like
bad.
The Brady Bunch girls are like in the other room talking over each other. It's pretty cool. In a creepy way.
Yeah, I agree. It certainly ratchets up the, like, I guess, horror of the movie. Like, to me, this movie wasn't scary, but I'm also 87 years old and I'm jaded with violence and horror. So, but I could understand why this would be like freak people out in the 70s.
Well, and also think about that moment. You know, he's like, yeah, he's pretty as a princess. Yeah, looking at the people, and then, you know, fade to black, and then next thing you know, it's like, hey, Marge, did you hear the bounty's even stronger than it was before? And it's like, oh, that's such a great paper towel, you know? Like, yeah, it goes to a commercial, man, you know?
Yeah.
The kid's J.O.ing on the wall, staring at the girl, and it's like, oh, here's Folgers instant crystals.
It's made for
know?
TV, man. You got to commercialize the horror. That's the point.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
I would have. I didn't obviously watch this with commercial breaks or like having actual commercials, but that would, yeah, I guess leaving you with that like suspense for like 4 minutes. Yeah, I could see.
And just that weird juxtaposition, too, of like, you know, creepo, and then it's like, you know, the 1974, you know, Chevy Vega. It's like, what?
You'll want to spy on your neighbors driving this beauty.
Huh.
Or even better, you know, you get Paul Thomas Anderson's dad, you know, he's like, and don't forget Sunday on the Love Boat, you know. Like, wait, we just went from the kid jerking off
The
to
Love
the
Boat.
Love Boat. Who's the guest? Rosie Greer.
Let's watch the movie of the week.
This week, it's Jerk Off on the Walls.
Sponsored by Hershey's Chocolate.
You'll want to eat it slowly. Wait, I had an observation at this point in the movie.
Sponsored by 3M Spackle and Drywall.
Oh, it would have been, yeah.
Asbestos, it'll keep the cum off you. I had an observation about the movie at this point, and that was, I wish the movie started here. I wish the movie started with a new family moving in, meeting a neighborhood boy who seems nice. They have him over for, you know, dinner after getting to know all the characters of the new family and this boy who lives in the neighborhood. And then the boy has a monologue where he tells this story about this guy in his neighborhood. And then things in the house start getting creepy. And then I wish we flashed back to show the first third of the movie where we see what happened inside this house. And then we could go back and watch these girls realize that there's somebody living in their walls. I wish that was how this movie was
that would have
structured.
been cool. I like that. Yeah, chopping it up a little bit.
I feel like all the same
it's
ingredients.
It's the hateful eight of poor editing choices.
Dude, no, I mean,
as long as it didn't lie to the viewer. The lying to the viewer and pretending it's a like a plot point is annoying. But if it's actually telling a story,
I think, or just tell a story as interesting as you can tell it. Like even intentionally withholding information is totally viable if it builds tension, and especially if that tension is going to release in a dramatic way. I think it's worth it. Like Hateful Eight has its problems, but like I don't hold that against it. And I think this movie could like benefit from some structural remixing.
Yeah,
I agree.
I could see that.
I think your concept of non-linear storytelling in this instance would work really well because it builds up a mystery, and then you get that resolution maybe in the middle, and then you see how it all plays out.
Yeah, it would have the same 3-act structure. It would just be taking the second act and putting it before the first act to make that first act feel more tense or something. Something.
Would the idea of them building a fake room in the house, would that like lose anything? Like,
no, because they could establish in the first act, they could establish that there's only one bathroom, and it's weird that this house only has one bathroom. They could even have the camera linger on this weird wall and stuff like that, and then when they show a bathroom there in the flashback and they show them boarding it up, it would be like, oh my god, like a puzzle piece falls into place that the house is different in the flashback than it was in the flash forward. Like I don't know, it feels like there's a lot you could do there.
Kaiser Soze.
My biggest question for this movie is like, how do people not realize like, oh, like there's a portion of the house that I see on the outside that is not on the inside.
Yeah. I mean, if you're buying this house, you would have to know, like there would have to be plans. When I bought my house, there were plans. I knew all the rooms because I had a blueprint.
First, the real estate agent is John Fiedler, who's the voice of Piglet. So,
well, there you go.
When he's showing you your house and you're so enamored with him, you're like, oh, you're so whimsical.
Oh my
and
God.
stuff. Like, I don't even care about that portion of the house. That
It's a magic house.
Sure, what's going on with it? Yeah. So they just become enamored with Mr. Roscoe, and they're like, oh yeah, I like this house.
I need a side by side of this real estate agent's voice and Piglet's voice. Sorry, what were you saying, Brendan?
We need a new kitchen. The whole place is filthy.
Oh, I admit it's a far cry from being immaculate, but it is a bargain.
Yes, except for one thing. And I don't understand. Why would a 4-bedroom house just have one bathroom? Doesn't make sense. I mean, I grant you, it's a large bathroom, but Mr. Roscoe with 3 daughters.
Bathrooms just weren't that important when the house was built. Now look at those moldings.
But Dan, I was going to say, but think about it this way. You put yourself in 1974 shoes.
All right, I'm there.
There's no all you got is TV Guide, which gives you like the bare minimum of a synopsis, and maybe you're too poor to even afford it. You've got your rabbit ear TV. It's 8:30 on ABC on a Tuesday night, and you're like, oh, I wonder what the Tuesday night movie is, and you turn it on. And you're like, Bad Ronald. Oh, it's just this kid. Oh, maybe he's like Dennis the Menace. He causes all kinds of mischief in his neighborhood. He's just a bad kid, and you're just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to change the channel, and then you're like, oh fuck, he just murdered a girl.
Right.
Oh wow, this is now I'm going to watch this piece of. This is maybe not a piece of
Valid.
shit. I might
Dude,
actually
valid, hardcore.
So,
I like that.
I like it. I like that you think it's Dennis the Menace.
And Bad Ronald. That's
I mean, it's Bad Ronald. He's always getting into trouble, You're like, oh, this he's probably a delightful scamp, and you're like, oh no, he's a fucking asshole. He just murdered a kid, and now he's holed up in the wall painting.
They should have
shitty
serialized it. Like every week, he killed somebody else.
Back to the wall for you, Bad Ronald.
There's he's getting I wish that was like our catchphrase for the show, like back to the wall for you.
It would have become like a national thing. You're such a bad Ronald.
Bad Ronald. and like what's his name? Sgt Lynch could be almost like his Colonel Clink, He's like, I'm gonna get that Ronald one. Oh, he got away again. Where's he hiding? I've searched this whole house and I can't figure out where Ronald died.
You got a slingshot that shoots peepholes.
He fixes the same crooked painting every episode. Is he gonna find him? He's fixing that painting again. I'd watch that.
Me too.
That actually sounds
Yeah, it's
amazing.
I'm in. Let's make this shit.
Dabney Coleman was Mr. Wood, right? So he's got plenty of TV behind him. He could be in a
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of
recurring
sitcom
character.
experience. Yeah.
At this point, Ronald's like super dirty and nasty. And I love when they cut back to one of his drawings. Clearly, it's not him drawing; it's like an actual artist.
Yeah.
But he starts drawing the face, and it's just like a unibrow. It's just like a line. It's like, and then that's it. They just cut. But then they pan down the wall, and there's like all this like doodly graffiti stuff, I guess, of him like losing his mind in there, or like writing to himself. And I paused it to see what it said. And it said the one. Did you guys know? You know what I'm talking about? There's like writing on the wall. The one thing it just said the word mother 3 times.
Nice.
It said help, and then there was a picture of a broken heart with the word mother in the heart that was broken. At one point, it just said ha ha ha. It said see no evil. It said Ronald loves the princess, but my favorite thing out of all of them that makes no sense was it was just numbers. It said 1, 3, 2, and then it had 3 and 2 crossed out, and then underneath it said 1, 2, 3. Zero. It was like
he's been in there so long he forgets how numbers work.
This isn't how you count.
Earlier in the movie, it implied he was teaching himself trigonometry, so that's excellent. That's wonderful. I like the idea that he was lying to his mom from within the walls of the house. He's just jerking off and telling his mom it's trigonometry. Yeah, I threw 3 ropes today. That's trigonometry.
I like the idea that the more you're stuck in a wall, just the dumber you get.
I mean, it sounds like you like real life, Greg, because I think that's
that's
true.
true, yeah. I don't think you lose knowledge. You just don't gain anymore.
Well, is there a difference between those two things?
All right, this is going long. We're moving on.
Yeah, this is going to be longer than the movie.
Yeah, we're about 10 minutes away from the end of the movie in runtime here. All right, so...
Wait, can I just... I'm sorry, just to interrupt really quick.
Of course, please go ahead, Prince Norbert.
Just so briefly, I just want to say, 2 people now have mentioned the artwork on his walls. I loved the artwork on his walls. I loved it.
I love the drawing of like the ogre Duke.
Me too.
That he does later. Yeah,
and he has that one moment where he like splatches like the red ink over the heart and all that. I love the drawing of the princess. I love the drawing of the prince. I loved all that shit. I thought it was so fucking cool. It reminded me of that like classic. What's that deck? A tarot deck. It reminded me of that classic tarot deck. That
classic bad Ronald art style.
Man. It reminded me of like Sandman a little bit for some reason.
Oh, dude, yeah. Which is
So here at this point, the family leaves for the day, and Ronald comes out to steal food because he must be running out of his canned beans and chocolate that his mom gave her before she died. He gets caught. This time he does get caught by Mrs. Schumacher, who ends up having a heart attack when she sees him, and he goes out.
Sorry.
The one thing she wanted in her life, she has a heart attack, falls down the steps. He pulls her by the feet into the underhouse area, and ends up burying her. It's not a basement though. It's just the dirt under the house.
A crawl space.
It's an unfinished basement.
It's a very unfinished basement.
Like you can't stand in it. You have to crawl in it. Right.
All right. So so he pulls her into the crawl space beneath the house and buries her body, and then rats his way back up into his pervert chamber,
his fart box,
the jerk house,
the jerk house. Yes,
the slather. He talks to himself at that point too. He's like, "They'll blame this on me too."
Even though no one knows I'm here, they'll blame me.
He's really good at. He's great at. We should acknowledge his strengths. He's excellent at accidentally murdering women. He's super good at it. He keeps doing it.
All right, so now the family's back home, and Babs thinks that she heard something break in the house, but her sister Althea didn't hear anything. We know that it was Ronald breaking some glass in his pervert room.
We should clarify that Babs and Althea are both like 14. So just in case you're imagining 70-year-old women, no, these are young girls.
Well, that's true. Yeah, they're very old school names.
Yeah.
This is my favorite scene in the movie. Here, the next morning, Mrs. Woods asks who's eating all the eggs because the hard-boiled eggs are going missing, and she's trying to plan out her meals for the week.
What?
Well, yesterday I hard-boiled half a dozen eggs for the girls' lunches, and now there are only 2 left. You ate
Honey,
4.
I haven't touched the eggs.
Oh, Dwayne must have been here last night, huh?
Mother, he didn't eat those eggs. You're always blaming the missing food on Dwayne.
It's not that I mean that. I mean,
just don't think Daddy'll...
it's a matter of planning.
I just don't think Daddy'll admit it.
Look, what is with the boy? I haven't seen a boiled egg in this house. What are you talking about?
We've all seen Dwayne eat.
Look, I must have miscounted.
You know, Dwayne's in and out of here so often. Sometimes I wonder if it's love or hunger that brings him around. Well, it's certainly not you.
You know Wednesday's hard-boiled.
Yeah, this is where we only eat hard-boiled eggs and water in this household, in the Woods household.
She blames it on the dad, and then she blames it on the boyfriend. They're like, God damn, Dwayne's eating all my eggs again.
I like that the dad...
First he ruins dinner by telling us about his dead fucking sister. Now he's going to eat all the eggs. What an asshole.
I like that the dad was like, I haven't eaten an egg in like 14 weeks. This is not me.
He does a quick like itinerary of his egg eating habits.
Yeah, he just dismisses it, keeps reading the paper.
Yeah.
Ronald's in there eating 50 eggs in a row, just chewing on the corner of them and just farting up a storm.
Do you think it's intentional that in this screenplay there's a son nestled away in the walls, overdue to be released into the wild, and then the family living in the house is complaining about boiled eggs? That feels connected to me. Is that only connected to me? Am I the weirdo?
Yeah, I think so.
You trying to make a connection to egg as the birth and
the offspring. It's been there too long. You got to eat it.
I'm not even going to lie. You described that and my brain shut off and just didn't even want to hear it. That's the first time this happened on this show where I'm just like, I can't even comprehend what you're saying.
I take that with humility and respect, Greg. I will back away from the microphone.
I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just my brain did it. You're like, is it just me? It's like, I don't even know what you just said. I'm sorry.
I just want to know how this eggs conundrum resolves.
I just hope they buy more eggs. Eggs are an important part of a balanced breakfast.
Putting them up as butt or something.
That's it.
Gotta pass the time somehow.
He's like, the prince lays eggs.
They flash, like the last shot is just the toilet bowl, like overhead. There's just like eggs floating in it. It's the big reveal.
If he couldn't get any stinkier as a character.
Yeah, if he's living on eggs and milk. His boy, how they haven't found him from just the essence radiating through the walls of that house.
It's the only non-comedy that could be described as having all 4 humors. That's for sure. That's it.
Oh boy.
Here we go.
All right, so moving on. Ronald is becoming more of a creepo. He goes into Ellen's room while everyone's gone and tries to break into her diary. And Ellen starts blaming Babs for trying to break in and kind of causes a little trouble. So the next day, Babs comes home and no one is there. The parents are off on a trip somewhere and they won't be back until late the next night. Ronald is hiding in her room behind the door, and he had put up his drawing of the princess, which is her
fan art
in her room.
He put up fan art.
Yeah, it's fan art. Yeah. Yeah, it's normal. So we see that he's slipping into his own fantasy world. He keeps calling her Princess, whatever the name was. I don't remember. And he claims that he's Prince Norbert and she is his princess.
Not one more sound or I'll...
You'll kill me.
No, I never killed anyone. I'm not that kind of person.
If my father catches you,
He won't be home till Sunday night.
you know?
I'm Prince Norbert, ruler of Otranto. I know everything.
You did that? Why?
To please a princess.
And she ends up escaping the house and running away, but she runs into Mrs. Schumacher's house, who is dead. So Ronald rips the phone line out, and Mrs. Schumacher is not there to help her. Babs runs into the basement and hides. This sounds like it's a really action-packed scene. It's not. But Ronald is kind of creepy. Like, he'll just like slowly walk through the house whistling.
Yeah.
And
was good.
it is off-putting.
Yeah, it's cool.
Especially because you can't see his lips being like pursed to whistle. So I don't know where the sound is coming from. It was weird.
he like covers her mouth to prevent her from screaming, and does the whole Prince Norbert thing. And then when he takes his hand away, it says dirt all over her face from his hand. And I think I was more appalled by that than like any of the murders. You know, I was like, all right, a head on concrete, that's fine. Oh God, look at that dirty, dirty mouth. It's gross.
You know that's not just all dirt too.
No.
There's some poo on
My first thought, it was a relief when I realized, oh, maybe that's charcoal, because I auto completed that to some heinous shit.
Yeah, charcoal and poop.
Yeah.
Did you notice that this I thought was really odd and was out of place when I can't remember in the carriage. What's the girl's name that he's chasing?
Babs.
Thank you.
Babs.
When she runs into Mrs. Schumacher's basement, and she gets locked in, there's baby dolls hanging by nooses in Mrs. Schumacher's basement, and she hits one, and it like makes a baby. You know, it's like "Mama" or something, and she screams, and it's just never addressed. And it's like, but that's Mrs. Schumacher's basement. So does she have like some weird dark secret where she's hanging like baby dolls from in nooses in her basement? Like she's some weird creepo? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
She wasn't watching their house. I thought about this. Okay. She wasn't spying on the neighbor's house. She was hunting.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Mrs. Schumacher is a serial killer who hunts the children of her neighbors.
She should have a spinoff.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, Ronald, Alf, and Schumacher.
Schumacher's basement.
I'm saying Schumacher didn't die. She's in the hospital. They never showed her dead. They showed her passed out at the bottom of the stairs and being dragged away. So she could be.
He dragged her under the house and he came up with a shovel into his room.
Yeah, I think she's.
It's certainly implied he buried her.
It was still off screen. We're following Marvel rules,
all right,
and
that's fine.
She has the spirit of Christ in her, and she resurrects and she bails him out of jail. And then the two of them go around hunting 12-year-old girls from the neighborhood.
Maybe she's just really shitty. Like she's stealing baby dolls from the neighbors' kids and like hanging on them like in her basement. Like,
now, what if,
'cause she's like an asshole.
What if like Ronald knew she was dead? So what if he kind of set this up as like another pervert room? I mean, when they went in the house, it was just like, well, why didn't Ronald just move in there for a while? Like he could have the run of the house, because no one would be coming there. No one liked Mrs. Schumacher.
What if Mrs. Schumacher was out feeding at the time?
Well, my story is that that doesn't. She's not a weirdo monster. Yeah. We could combine it though.
Maybe this is revealed
board up the doors.
Maybe it's revealed in the book. Did you guys know there's a book?
Yeah, but I'm not going to read it.
I did.
Has anybody read it? Or the
Do you read books, Eric? What's that like?
Occasionally. Apparently, it was like out of print for a while. It was like $200 or $400.
Wow.
And now it's on paperback on Amazon for like $13. But it's this guy Jack Vance. He's like a classic sci-fi fantasy writer. But anyway, apparently in the book, there's Ronald rapes someone besides murdering them.
Jesus
and
Christ.
It's like a child. It's like a molestation thing. So I don't think they go into it in too much detail, but it's definitely in the book because I was looking on Goodreads and like everyone's like, yeah, it's a really good book except for the rape. I was like,
Jesus. That makes sense because his whole like fantasy world is not fleshed out enough. Like that, I feel like that's supposed to be the anchor of his like. This movie's supposed to be like a character study, right? Of this Ronald guy under the stairs, because it's not super effective as a horror, and you follow him from the very beginning, so it's supposed to be from his perspective, I guess. So I was, by the end of this movie, I was thinking like, man, that fantasy angle should have been way more important, because then maybe I would understand better what like people's motivations were, what his motivations were. I guess
this guy
it sounds like there's more of it.
Yeah, this guy was a fantasy writer, so I think he took that and then like put this dark spin on it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There, so Ronald locks Babs in Mrs. Schumacher's basement, and she can't get out. Ronald goes back to his old stomping grounds in his old perv room. He tears up the drawing of Babs and leaves a typed-up note from Babs saying that she ran away because no one likes her anymore, no one understands her or cares about her. Ellen and Dwayne find the note. They end up calling the most competent policeman in the world, Sgt Lynch, to the house, and he basically says, like, she'll come back. She probably wasn't kidnapped. It's fine.
don't worry about it. They all
this is
show
definitely
up.
when he's the worst cop here. He's just like, we got nothing to go on here. Why would somebody kidnap her? Nothing's, and they're like, she didn't take any money and any clothes. Like, she just up and left, and it doesn't make any sense.
This is Brendan if he was a cop. He's like, I do one crime a month. Leave me alone. I'm not there yet.
Well, it kind of goes back to his mom, who was like, teenagers are always running away. And the cop's like, yep, they are.
Yep. So now we're hitting the climax of the movie.
They're eating eggs, they're running away.
Oh, man.
Drinking milk out of the container, eating all the hard-boiled eggs, murdering children, the usual.
The cop's just drinking a beer, being like, looks like he's drinking your beer, too.
Looks like you did an upper decker in your
one upstairs toilet, weirdly. Oh, as an aside, there's a moment where when the real estate agent is selling the house, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's weird. There's just one bathroom in this 4-bedroom house. It's so weird." And everybody's like, "Yeah, it's so weird. There's just one bathroom." And I was watching this in my 4-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, being like, "I know it is weird.
Oh, that's true.
It sucks. It's so bad. No human should live this way."
Yeah. Oh well.
God bless utility sinks in the basement.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
I also like how Dwayne orders a rare burger.
Well, we're not even at that point yet.
Yeah, I'm just trying to jump ahead. I'm just trying to help out. Nasty, dude.
That's coming up.
Asking for trouble.
Yeah, so next day, Althea and Ellen go to pick up those burgers, getting Dwayne his rare burger and onion ring.
I like mine rare, with onion rings.
We'll be back in a while.
Thanks.
And leaving Dwayne alone in the house to watch the game. Ronald sneaks out of his room and ends up knocking out Dwayne. We see kind of there's a bit of a struggle. The couch gets tipped over and everything. Meanwhile, Babs is trying to get out of the basement of Mrs. Schumacher's house. She's fiddling with the doorknobs. The two girls come home, and Dwayne is gone. But we see that he's tied up and gagged in Ronald's perv room. Sgt Lynch comes back.
Dude, can I enter just real quick? I just love that shot. It's a really cool shot. Ronald's like in the foreground whistling, and Dwayne's tied up in the background. It's just super cool framing and shadows. They should have used that for the cover. It's really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it did look great. Yeah. So Sgt Lynch comes back, and now that a boy is missing, he thinks that something fishy might be going on.
Sgt Lynch is like, anybody eat this burger?
he's like that detective in Wicked who orders like the hot dog. Oh yeah. Oh my god, I totally forgot about him.
Well, now that a man's missing, I gotta do something about it.
I like the idea of the cop walking into a house where a crime's been committed, and he like walks in the living room and turns the couch back upright so he can sit in it, then asks to eat the rest of the burger.
Well, they start like
mind if I watch the game?
they're dusting for prints on things too, and he's just like, well, we'll have this figured out by the morning. It's just like, I don't think you're gonna have Ronald's prints on file.
No. Our boys at the crime lab.
Yeah.
Fuck it, we don't have a crime lab. It's just a janitor's closet where we put shit and tell people it's a crime lab.
Our boys at the crime lab, and it hard cuts Family Guy style to like a group of partying frat boys, just being like, "Oh, girls missing, no boys missing," playing drinking games.
Yep.
You know that I would watch that TV show. That's another TV show, 70s Cops. That's just what it's called.
We got so many spinoffs of this movie.
It's just a bunch of coked out cops refusing to search for missing women while only searching for missing boys. 70s Cops. We'll find him, and him is underlined.
This one makes sense because, like, at least there was furniture tipped. Like, it looked like there was a fight.
True.
You
Yes.
know, like something was obviously wrong. Like, I'm not saying that they only search for boys, even though he
No, the rest
very
of us
much,
are.
made us believe that. But yeah, obviously something went down in this room while nobody should have been there. So back in Ronald's room, Dwayne starts to try to fight back against Ronald, and they make a lot of noise. Ellen and Althea are up in their room, and they hear it, and they go looking around the house to see what's happening, and they're very quiet about it. But they finally see like a light coming through one of his perv holes.
Yeah.
And so Althea walks up to it to like look through it, and suddenly Ronald's eyes come in there, and then he just Kool-Aid Mans through the wall at him.
Oh yeah.
It was the most action this movie has seen so far, of Ronald just like flying through the wall.
He's yelling mother the whole time.
Yep. Yeah, he runs out of the house, but he gets caught by the police, who were watching the house because of Dwayne getting kidnapped earlier. And he ends up getting caught by the police. We see Sgt Lynch with Babs, so she must have been rescued at some point or had gotten out. And the girls are reunited with Dwayne, who is okay. And we cut to a slow zoom in on the drawing of Prince Norbert, who is a psychological stand-in for our good bad Ronald. And we cut to an exterior shot of the house, and then we move to credits, and that is it for Bad Ronald.
Hey! Great job, Greg.
I think everything works out well for him in the end, really.
Wherever he's going, I hope he lives his best life.
You know what? In jail, your toilet is in your bedroom, too.
Oh, so he's going to be super comfortable.
Yeah, he knows what to do. He can draw on the walls as much as he wants. You're just going to have to use a different kind of marker.
Yeah, he's going to have to use feces and blood.
Yeah, his little poopy markers.
There's a post-credit scene of Dwayne just like pooping out worms from his raw burger afterwards.
That's the weird thing in these movies. Like, I often will be like, I wonder if there's anything in the credits, and like that never happened before. Like, it's not a normal thing for there to be stuff. So
that peephole reveal is the money shot. That
So
is
good.
awesome.
yeah,
Like, it's her. The light from the hole is directly on her eye, and then his eye just like pops into the hole. And when she screams, her mouth is taking over the whole frame, and then it like zooms backwards from her scream. It was really freaking cool.
It was great.
I love
That was the shot that I thought would be the cover. Would be like the girl's eye with the circle illumination on her face. Yeah, it was a cool shot. You're right. Man, that was awesome. That was fun.
Yeah,
what a fun movie. Yeah. What do you guys say we Kool-Aid Man through the walls of this plot synopsis and dive into stabbing the shit to death?
Let's do it.
Oh yeah.
Time for the ratings.
right, so here on Stabby Stabby, we like to review our films by affectionately stabbing them over and over again, 1 through 10. So the more stabs, the better that we like this film. And we're going to get right into it with Bad Ronald. So who wants to do the stabbing first?
Me.
Who's that, Dan?
My knife is so sharp. Yeah,
Get in there,
I'm here.
Dan.
I'm here. All right, I'm ready to get all up in this movie's guts with 5 stabs. Gonna get a 5 stabber for me. I feel like of the last direct-to-TV movie that we did was Scream of the Wolf, and where that movie succeeded with like really fun writing and really over-the-top characters, I think this movie kind of let me down a little bit with the writing and the characters. Like I said earlier in the episode, the recording, I feel like if they had like chopped and screwed the plot a little bit and maybe remixed when they revealed certain things to the audience, it could have been a better movie. And I only hold that against the movie because it would have been so easy to do, but I know that's kind of a modern sensibility. Otherwise, it was well shot. The house was cool to look at. His jerk-off palace was neat by the end because it was covered in all those like drawings and scrawlings and stuff like that, and I love that shit. It was very like Faust in that way. I don't know. I don't have much else to say. 5 out of 10. It was a perfectly adequate movie. I will probably watch it again at some point, but this might be one of the first movies in a while that we've watched where I'll say, maybe watch this with a loved one, like, and talk about it and have fun watching it. You don't have to be drunk. You don't have to be high or anything like that. You just watch this movie. It's fine. Perfectly adequate. 5 out of 10. Greg, how'd you feel about this movie?
I'm going with 6.5 stabs. It is a TV movie. I have lower expectations, but that will affect the stab rating. So I think I actually really like the guy playing Ronald. I thought he was he did really well for the role. He did come off as just very socially awkward mama's boy who like he's got that like yeah, he just played the role really well. Scott Jacoby was his name. He was good. The way it kind of changed into a different movie halfway through with like the new family moving in, at least it kept it kind of interesting as it went along. The writing was kind of weird. I would have liked to have seen him become a little bit more like lose himself more in his delusions. But maybe not as far as the book went. So don't really need that. But just seeing him lose just all understanding of who he is or was. But that could have like added a little bit more fun factor to it. It definitely dragged a bit, even though it was like an hour and 10 minutes. It still dragged, but I do think like Brendan mentioned earlier, like if I saw this with commercials cut in, I think I would have actually liked it more, because it would have been like, oh my god, what is happening here? Now I have to wait 4 or 5 minutes to see. So it could have actually added a lot of tension to it, but I'm glad I saw this because it has been on my list for a while. But it's solid. I recommend it. It's worth watching. It's a quick watch. So 6.5 stabs from me. I think that's what I said. So, Brendan, how about you? How many stabs are you giving it?
I'm giving this a 9 stab rating.
Oh, damn. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's Eric kind of touched on this in the intro to this. It came out the year I was born, so I did not see it when it originally aired. I saw it probably late 70s, probably on UHF as a rerun. So I'm like 5 years old, 6 years old, and I also watched it with my older brothers who had seen it before. So, they when you're 6 years old and you see a kid get killed, it kind of fucks you up a little bit.
Yeah, no kidding.
But
seriously.
The other thing about that is my asshole brothers would during the night for like the next 2 weeks after I saw that movie would, one would hide somewhere and make, scratching sounds and, hey, there's somebody on the wall and all this kind of other stuff. So there is a huge nostalgia factor for that there, and I am a big fan of 70s made-for-TV horror movies, because they just, I don't know, it's weird. This is like a Tuesday night at 8:30, and there's a kid murdered 10 minutes into this movie, and then a kid, getting locked in a section of the house, and he's spying, and he's jerking off, and he's eating hard-boiled eggs, and this is on ABC on a Tuesday night, like in prime time, and they paid for this, and this exists, but it's this like weird bygone era of a lot of made-for-TV horror stuff that I love, like the Night Stalker stuff with Kolchak and the Night Strangler, and even Spielberg's Duel, which was so good that it actually got a theatrical release and pretty much gave him the keys to Jaws. In a way. Another made-for-TV horror movie that Spielberg did, which is hard to find, is now the name is eluding me, but Darren McGavin from Kolchak is in there, and there's all this great, even stuff as ridiculous as Killdozer. I have such a fondness for that stuff in my heart. So this is one that stuck with me as a kid, and then I hadn't seen it for years, and I was searching for it, and then when I was in college, there was a video store in Lawrence Park, PA, called Movies Unlimited, that had like every movie you could imagine.
Oh, that place was great.
Yeah, and they had just a beat up, battered like copy of Bad Ronald. So when I found it, I was like, oh my god, like I remember this, and will it live up to being as good as I remember? And the answer is no, it's not. It's not as good as I remember, but I have such it puts me back in such a time and a place in my life that I love it, and it just recalls that era of when, when you're a kid and things are a little more innocent and things are a bit more frightening than they are to you as an adult in some ways. But just that era of when TV stations would just networks would kind of take risks, or even not risks, just like, yeah, we just need to fill a Tuesday for an hour and a half. What do we got? We bought the rights to something called Bad Ronald. All right, here's $100 or $1 million, shoot it on the back lot, to get Buzz Kulik. He can do this shit in his sleep. The guy's made like 1 million TV movies, to get him and do it, and then you get this, and it's just like, I would never see them. Well, hell, they don't even make made for TV movies anymore. It's just the closest you can get is stuff made for streaming, and but yeah. So that's, long story short, it just it's not perfect. It's clunky, but put it in its time and its place, and it puts me in a time and a place, and I really enjoy it. So
nice. So 9 out of 10.
Yeah, 9 out of 10.
That's awesome. It's rad as fuck. What do you think, Eric?
That's great. Yeah, so I rated it a 7. I don't know if there's too much to say about it at this point. I thought it was good. I liked the length. I didn't think it was amazing, but I do think it was good. I don't remember it like screwing me up as a kid, but I knew what it was. So I guess I just didn't like. I guess my sisters just didn't hide in the walls and scratch the walls enough.
No, you were the guy in the walls, Eric.
Yeah, I was the one creeping around the house. Yeah. I mean, it feels sleazy, like a sleazy soap opera. And I thought Ronald was great. I thought he was really good. He was like I don't know, like nowadays he'd be like a hipster. He had like flannel on and like a big puffy hair and glasses and Chuck Towers on. But the actor is great. I did just recently watch another movie I had not seen that he has a large role in, Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane.
I was going to bring that up, yeah.
It's pretty good, man. It's PG, which it should not be PG.
No, it shouldn't.
It should definitely not be PG. Jodie Foster is in it as a child. Martin Sheen is in it as a pedophile right off the bat.
Oh no!
And this kid's in it as a magician, like he's a wannabe magician, and he's got like a limp, and he's a good actor. He was good in that movie too.
He is. So. It's like a weird character actor for a kid, like doing these little moments in that movie with the limp and just his magic act. It's really cool.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to him like doing his weird chewing, and so I'm sure that was all purposeful. Apparently he was in the Golden Girls in a recurring role for 3 episodes.
He was Dorothy's son. Yeah,
is that what it was? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's good. I thought it was a cool thriller. I like the weird nerd stuff. The concept is phenomenal. I would maybe like to read the book. I don't know. I probably never will, but I'd like to see what the difference is. I'm just curious, like the whole teen outsider. I suspect that the movie we have more sympathy for him, and the book he's just mentally ill and twisted and deranged, like right off the bat. But I'm not sure about that. So I'm gonna go solid 7 for Bad Ronald.
Well, it sounds like a menagerie of stabbagery from this here posse, this foursome. We've all got a different cluster of knives, and I like that our stab ratings are kind of based on our personal experiences. I think that's the whole point of this exercise, isn't it? Everybody, my attitude towards movies is if you enjoy the time you spend with it, it's a good fucking movie, and the metric of enjoy is, you can grow up with it. It could be a brand new experience. It could be connected to an experience that you appreciate. Like now I know that it's connected to the Golden Girls, so maybe I'll change that to a 6 out of 10. These things are all fluid. That's awesome. I had a lot of fun talking about this with you guys.
Same.
Oh, absolutely.
If you want to learn more about Stabby Stabby and what we're going to be watching next, Greg, where can we go to learn more about Stabby Stabby and what we're going to be watching next?
Well, you can come on over to Instagram, but you have to come in through the back door and go under the house and then come into our little ad hoc room that we made. We do have a toilet, so it's okay. And you just need to follow us at Stabby Pod. And every Wednesday, we'll announce the next movie we're going to be talking about. And each new episode comes out on Monday. And I try not to post too much because I find that it would probably get annoying. And I don't want to annoy you.
Especially after you characterize our Instagram as a jerk-off dungeon.
Didn't say it was a jerk-off dungeon. I said it was a ad hoc room with a toilet. And you could...
It's projection the rest of the way.
Yeah, you make your own rules in Shay Stabby Stabby. So follow us, Stabby Pod, STABBYPOD. And it's fun in a horrible social media world.
Oh, yeah.
So come on over. And Brendan, where can we find more of you and your sultry voice?
You can go to Mixcloud, which is the most happening platform for original content and fake radio shows, and hear my show, Guerrilla Radio, on there. It's the only place you can hear it because they pick up all the royalties for all the songs I play. Otherwise, I would not be able to do the show.
Oh yeah, that's worth supporting. Like straight up, curation is hard to find these days. Finding somebody with taste to tell me what to listen to. Can I just tell you, I've been listening to a lot of Apple Radio recently, and full-throatedly, I will gladly declare that Apple Radio sucks balls. It's terrible. It's not good. They don't have good taste. So please tell me more.
Well, if you
as a Guerrilla Radio listener already, please pitch me further.
I'll tell you. Well, if you can't get enough of a middle-aged white guy telling you what you should listen to, check out my show. There's a lot out there, but I think mine's it's a little more fun. I don't know. It's a little more eclectic, I think, but you can find it on Mixcloud. Just search for Guerrilla Radio HQ. It's all one word. That's Guerrilla Radio. H as in hard-boiled egg, and Q as in quick hide all the hard-boiled eggs. Ronald's in the wall.
Go, Gorilla. Go, Gorilla.
That's a cool theme song.
Well, so as you all know, as we're parting ways on this podcast, there's something we like to say to our listeners. Brandon, what do we like to say on this podcast?
Don't forget to stab your friends with a cake knife.
All right.
We'll see you in the walls of your house.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the crawl space, guys. I'll see you for the next episode you invite me on.
I'm going to go crawl in the bathroom.
Thanks for being here.
do some trig and some push-ups, eat some chocolate bars.
Eat some hard-boiled eggs.
Oh, we could have said, don't forget to eat your eggs.